Good morning. It is Friday the 26th of February and that means it's time for an episode of Friday Sews. If you are a subscriber or a regular visitor to my channel, welcome back. And if you're new and you found your way here possibly by the hashtag Friday Sews, then welcome. I'm Ruth and this is my channel So Dysfunctional, and this is actually the first Friday Sews video that I've done. I've only recently cottoned on to this actually being a thing. I don't think it's been around that long. So what I'm going to do is put a list in the description box of the other people I know who are doing Friday Sews. Hopefully if you type hashtag Friday Sews into YouTube, it should come up with most of the things that are available. But just in case it doesn't, I'm going to put them down there because there are lots of people, I think, starting to do this. And it's really nice to just see what people are up to week by week. You may notice that I'm wearing something that actually isn't complete and has threads hanging out of it everywhere. I will go on to talk about that a little bit later, but first I want to show you some new fabric that I have bought. Now, I think it was about June or July last year, I decided to put a ban on buying any new fabric or patterns for myself. But it is my birthday this weekend and I have been eyeing up merino jersey fabric in New Zealand. For quite a long time now. We live in a really big cold house and of course it is now spring, so I'm possibly not going to sew these fabrics immediately, but I have been eyeing them up for quite a long time. And for the first couple of weeks of February, a particular shop called the Fabric Store, which is based in New Zealand, I think they have branches in Australia as well, I will link them in the description box. They had a sale on their website for 20% off the whole range of their ZQ premium merino wool jersey fabrics. So I decided to bite the bullet and order some for myself. There's free postage if you spend over $200, which equates to about £105 at the moment if you're in the UK. So it did seem like a lot of money to me for fabrics, but I very carefully measured out the Nico top by True Bias and the Somerset top by Maven Patterns. I did a little bit of maths and drawing out of templates and how I could fit things onto the particular fabric size pieces that I was going to buy. And I'm hoping that out of 2 pieces of 1.5 meters, I will get 3 Nico tops if I am very careful with how I lay out my pieces. Here are my fabrics. They arrived yesterday and I was amazed because I spent a lot of time trying to calculate the VAT and possible duties that I might have to pay. And in the end, I haven't had to pay anything extra. So I have got, hang on, I'll show you the 3. I've got 3 pieces of 1.5 meters. So these 3 colours, I can't remember. I think this was called Brick, this one, and then Peacock and Ochre, possibly it was called. So these are all 1.5 meters, these pieces. And then I got 1 meter also of this one, which I think was called Avocado. I don't normally use wool when I sew because I find it irritates my skin, but I know that merino is a different animal. No, it's still a sheep. It's a different thing and it is really soft. It's actually got a nice drape to it and it has also got more stretch than I was expecting. There's no elastane or anything in this. It is literally just the wool and the stretch is just due to the way that the fabric's been knitted. So my idea with these was basically to make, as I said, 3 Nico tops as base layers because it's so cold here in the winter and I was really struggling for sort of polo neck type tops, and I just thought it would be really good to have some wool base layers, and then I'm possibly going to have enough fabric to make myself a couple of slightly more dressy tops out of. So that's really exciting, but for now I'm probably going to end up putting those away in a zipped bag with some moth repellent balls because I do not want any moths getting on that fabric, which they will because it's a natural fibre. So the next thing I'm going to talk to you about is pants. Now I did a make 9 for the first time this year and on it was pants for me and my husband. So I've got a boxer short pattern, and I also got the Megan Nielsen Acacia Pants pattern, which is free if you sign up to their newsletter on their website. So it's worth giving it a go. It's a bikini pant style. I made one pair in supposedly the right size for my hip measurement, but I found that actually it was slightly too big and the shaping was a bit weird. I'm probably going to do a separate video for each of my Make 9 makes, with a sort of pattern review and things about adjustments that I've made and stuff. So I'm not going to talk too much about that now, but I have adjusted the pattern quite a bit, and this is the result. So actually, if you look at these stripes, they look really wonky. I realise that. This fabric I bought in America when I was on tour working, and I don't really understand it because it's clearly, like, it's not printed on, it's a woven, sort of the colours are woven into the actual fabric, but the grain line of the knit is not at 90 degrees to the stripes. So that's why the stripes look weird. I've cut it on the grain of the fabric so that the pants don't sort of twist and do weird things when you wash them. They were actually just another test pair once I'd made the adjustments on the first pair I made. And having tried them on without the elastic, I realised that actually I couldn't get a sense at all if they were going to be the right fit or comfortable until I put the elastic on. So these will probably just end up going into my drawer as an actual pair of pants because they're just fine. I don't really care about the stripes being slightly wonky. As you can see, I've used fold over elastic around the waist and the legs. So I'm planning to put these on once I finish this video and wear them for the rest of the day and see whether I think they're comfortable. But after the few pattern fiddles I made with this, I'm actually pretty pleased with how they've turned out. So I'll let you know how they go on the actual wearing, because of course, it doesn't really matter if they look pretty. If they're not comfortable, they ain't gonna stay in my wardrobe. The next thing, which is on my sort of works in progress pile at the moment, is the Maven Somerset top. I was hoping to get one of these made up for my birthday so that I could wear something and feel a little bit kind of jazzed up for the day. But seeing as it's this weekend, I suspect I probably won't get that done. But what I'm wearing at the moment is a sort of toile of the pattern. I actually cut this out this time last year because I was going to a wedding, and I hacked it together with I can't remember what, but a seamwork pattern, I think, to make it into a bodysuit, because I was hoping to wear some high-waisted trousers, and I wanted a top that would tuck in and wouldn't sort of ride up. So when I show it to you, there are weird flaps. You just have to ignore those. But I cut the top part out in the size 12 for the Somerset top. And looking at the measurements, I actually fit more into a 14. So from making this one, I'm definitely going to size up by 1. But I'll show you how it's looking. Okay, so here is my Maven Somerset top. As I said, you can see it was originally planned out as a bodysuit, hence the flappy bits. But if you can just ignore those briefly, as you can see, it is a little bit too small for me. Well, for personal preference, it's a bit too small anyway, but I am planning to go up a size. I checked the cuffs with the patterns and I did something funny. I didn't use the long cuff, which is what I am planning for the final thing. So I'm not worried about the length of that. Obviously, that would really annoy me if it was that length, because I'd want to be pulling it down and it doesn't quite work. As you can see, I haven't put the cuff on that one. I'm hoping you can see the top of it. I have darted out on the pattern piece these little bits. It's just a little bit flappy at the back, and I know a lot of people have said they've had problems with that with the Maven top. It can just be a little bit too baggy across the back. I also feel like this is a little bit too high for me across the front, so I've actually scooped the front neckline out a little bit as well, just to make it feel a bit more comfortable for me. This fabric was an absolute nightmare to sew. The machine kept sucking it down, and I'm quite surprised actually at how nice it's ended up looking, because when I was sewing it, it felt like an absolute mess. Also, I used a walking foot for it, which was great, but it kept catching on the teeth of the feed dogs and bunching up. So it would sew nicely for a little bit, and then the stitches would start getting shorter and shorter, and I could see that the fabric was all bunched up, and I had to literally yank it out from behind the foot. And when I looked at it, all down the seams, it was kind of, it hasn't actually caught the fabric and pulled it at all, I guess because it's not that kind of fibre, but it didn't look very nice on the inside, which is why I'm surprised at how nice it actually looks. And I actually got loads of this fabric left. I bought it from Minerva, and it was very cheap, so I bought quite a lot of it. So even though while I was sewing with it I vowed never to use this fabric again, now that I actually look at how it looks, I don't know, maybe I will. Maybe I'll use the rest of it to make something if I can figure out how to make it sew a bit nicer. Anyway, I've made some adjustments to my pattern, so the next thing I'm going to do is cut it out and have another go and see how it makes up. So from having made that toile, I've cut out a size bigger on the pattern, and I've also done the adjustment to take in a little bit on the back neckline. That is actually a blog post that's available on the Maven website, and I will post that in the description box. But I'll show you the pattern piece at the back. So you basically end up taking a dart out of the back. So that's where I've cut down there and overlapped to take that extra out of that back neckline. And having done that, I thought, great, I've done that, I can get on and make the actual one. But because I've sized up as well, I'm slightly nervous that I'll find that the shoulders aren't quite right, or something else has now been affected. So much as I don't want to have to make another toile, I think I will, because the fabric that I'm hoping to make this top out of as a sort of proper finished item is really nice, and I don't want to ruin it. So I yesterday went rummaging around in my bags, and I found a dress that I made before I had my children. And I looked at it and laughed because I cannot believe how small it is. This is the bodice, one of the bodice pieces. Sorry, that's backwards. I made a maxi dress out of this. So I've got that, and I lined the bodice fully. So I've got two front pieces of the bodice there. I've got two back pieces of the bodice. And I have two quite long skirt pieces. I'll probably just do the top part of the bodice and maybe the top part of the sleeves, just so that I can check the fit on the shoulders and across the neckline. I was never going to wear this dress again. There's no way I would have ever fitted into it. So I feel happy to use the fabric for something else. The actual fabric that I was planning to make this top out of is this one. And I bought this last year, sometime early on in the year, from Lamazi Fabrics. It's made by Meat Milk, I think. And I can't remember exactly what the composition was, but I don't think it's got any lycra in it. So the stretch is just due to the way that the fabric is made. And it's not actually that massive. And I only have, well, I bought a metre. I measured it before I washed it, and they'd cut me about 1.04 meters, which is brilliant. I washed it on 30 yesterday, and I now have about 96, 97 centimetres. So that has shrunk 7 to 8 centimetres, which actually, when you're already a bit short of fabric, is quite a lot. But I've also got a piece of viscose jersey. Again though, I bought a metre, and it's only about 91 centimetres after having washed it. So beware, people, if you are looking at fabric amounts before you buy something, really do factor in how much it might shrink when you wash it. But also, having said that, do a bit of playing around with your pattern, because I think even out of this 91 centimetres, and this fabric is much stretchier, so I'm not worried about the stretch on that, I will be able to get the Maven top out. And I think it says it's for the whole size range for the version that I'm doing, which is the bishop sleeve with the long cuff. I think it says you need 1.3 meters. I'm going to shorten the sleeve piece by a couple of centimeters, but I have not short arms, but not particularly long arms, so I think that will be okay. And I'm going to make the cuff piece, because it's made as one piece that you turn over. So I'm going to make the cuff as two pieces just by adding a seam allowance on the bottom. because I haven't got enough depth in the fabric. But if I do that, I should be able to get that top out of 92 centimetres. I think it's about 160 wide of this viscose jersey. So I'm not sure about this fabric. This was the plan. This was the finished article that I was going to go for that top, but it might end up being this one. Anyway, I'm hoping to do some sewing at some point today, if I'm lucky. So if I do, I will show you the progress on that top, and we can see how it's looking and what we think about the sizing. Right, so I've made a bit of progress. I have cut out what I could out of that dress that I cut up. I couldn't, unfortunately, fit the whole thing on, but I have cut out what I needed to kind of test the fit. So I've actually folded the sleeve up here. I think for starters that is just a little bit too long for me. It's going to irritate me, I think, so I need to take it up a centimetre or a centimetre and a half on the cuff. It's a lot looser in fit for saying that I only went up one size from the 12 to the 14. It feels quite a lot baggier actually, but I don't necessarily mind that, especially once I've made it out of a drapier fabric. This is a bit stiff, to be honest. I think it'll hang quite nicely, hopefully. What do I think about the neck? The neck at the front feels much nicer to me. It's not quite so sort of up around my throat, which is good, but I've still got this issue. And I took out an inch on either side of this neckline at the back on the pattern, so to be honest, I'm a bit confused about why it's still so gapey at the back. But I was wondering whether what I might try is unpicking the shoulders and actually making a neckband for it, basically, rather than, so at the moment it has a facing that you turn down and stitch down, and you stitch it down 2 centimetres from the fold. And I kind of feel like that's where it's standing up from. So I think I might have a go on picking the shoulders and either putting on a flat folded waistband or almost doing like a bias bound neckline and stretching that a bit as I sew, and see if that's going to just shorten the length of that neckline at the back. And if it doesn't, then I'll just have to take some more out of it to see if it fits a bit better. Okay, so I've sewn a neckband onto this, and it is safe to say this has not solved my problem at all. So I'm not quite sure where to go with this next, but to be honest, I'm feeling a little bit tired now. I started making silly mistakes, so I definitely think it is time to stop sewing for now. Let me know what you think about the size of this one. It feels a tiny bit big across the shoulders now that I've sized up to a 14. A bit like it's sort of just dropping off, but not like a dropped shoulder, like deliberately. It just feels like it's slightly falling off, which is a little bit annoying. So I'm not sure. Let me know what you think about the size. Thank you for joining me today for my first Friday sews. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please do like this video if you have, and don't forget to subscribe if you would like to see more of my videos when they come out. And also don't forget to leave me a comment. Have you got sewing planned for this weekend? I'd really like to know what you are all up to. I hope I'll be back soon with another Friday sews, but until then, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.